morning to you. We're coming to you live from Cape Town. We are stationed right here at the Madiba Stadium in Khayelitsha. Of course, the ANC is marking its 113th anniversary. Today is the January 8th statement. It will be delivered by the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa. Of course, my colleagues are joining me this morning. We are stationed across the stadium right here in Khayelitsha. Samkele Maseko, a senior reporter, also in the stadium, standing by with his guest. I've also got Lulama Maitya, who is somewhere within this stadium, standing by with her guest. Of course, we are looking at how the ANC has been celebrating and marking to this day. We're told that around about 11 o'clock, President Cyril Ramaphosa will be delivering the party's January 8th statement. Of course, it is a historic statement where he will touch on what the ANC officials, it's called the marching orders essentially, of what they will be focusing on this particular year. Not to be confused, of course, with the State of the Nation address, but some analysts have said that it does touch and it is a precursor to the SONA. But of course, we continue then to give you analysis. I am joined right here by ANC NEC member Mamoloko Kubai. Ma'am, a very good morning to you. Of course, ANC marking a very important milestone. It is the oldest political party in the African continent, but a lot of developments within your party. Partly of that, of course, overshadowing just some of the celebrations here. But as you reflect as the party, what are you taking away for this moment for the ANC?
I think one of the issues that we're looking at, reflecting in how far we've gone, it will be a reflection. Obviously, we're expecting the president to reflect on the elections, which is one of the issues that had happened in this year since last time. How we're working and accounting, because it's a call to action. When we come to January 8th, it's what we reflect upon what we have committed in the last January, but also a call to action to work together to those who support the ANC, but broadly in society. We see children are being killed, women are being killed. Those are some of the things that we expect the president to reflect upon as a call to action, because it affects majority of the people in our communities. The issues around cost of living, people are wondering whether what this year holds for them from an economic point of view, whether this year will be a better year. But concerns around, when you have a country that spends in 2 days 7.7 billion in alcohol, who consumes those alcohol in communities? So ANC as a leader of society has got to speak to developmental issues, it's got to speak about the moral issues in society and how we can work together, all of us as a country, to build a better South Africa.
Talking about, ANC having to speak to those developmental structures, I want to talk about the Women's League and its role within the party. Of course, we have seen after what has been defined as inactivity within the ANC Women's League, starting to, of course, to rise, I would imagine, rise to the occasion. As the ANC Women's League, as a young member of the NEC yourself, what role do you think the ANC Women's League should be playing now, particularly on the points that you've been mentioning, centering around crime? We are in Khayelitsha. The people of Khayelitsha have also, amongst the list and the litany of issues that they've been discussing, is crime.
Look, as members of the Women's League, I'm not in the NEC, but I'm a member in good standing. That's why I'm wearing my uniform as a member of the Women's League. Previously, you would remember we did a march in Pretoria of women, rallying women across political parties, led by the Women's League, across political parties. Other political women from various political parties joined, from various sectors joined us, because it's a matter that needs all of us, especially when we talk about GBV and femicide. It's a matter that needs all of us, that the Women's League has been able to champion. There's quite a lot of good things that Women's League has been able to advocate and champion. The interest of women in the country. You talk about us who are members of the executive. I'm a minister. It's the strides that Women's League had to fight. Firstly, from a point where there was 30% of women representation in the NEC to 50%, but also not only, but those who are deployed in government to be 50%. We're 50% from the ANC point of view being women. Yes, we would have wanted to see the cabinet overall having being 50% of women. But President acknowledged that when he opened Parliament at the beginning of the GNU government, led by ANC. So there are those things that we think will build on and continue on. I think the Women's League currently, the leadership has been doing a fantastic job, remaining on the ground, present, leading on issues that are affecting women. Economic empowerment, I can tell you, they've been fighting for 40% set aside across sectors. They engage with us in the ETC, as I'm chair of ETC, to say we want to see the economic benefits for women in terms of development so that they are not reliant on grants but are able to participate fully and meaningfully in the economy.
All right, thank you so much. Mamuluka Kubai, of course, also the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. All right, of course, celebrating the 113th anniversary of her party, the ANC. I'm going to now cross to Samkele Maseko, who is standing by for us with his guest in the stadium where we are. Samkele, over to you.
Indeed, Unathi, ANC members and leaders have now started coming in their droves into this Nelson Mandela Memorial Park in Khayelitsha. We are with Dixon Musamula, ANC member, and also the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs within the country. Mr. Musamula, when you look at the state of municipalities, you look at the state of people staying in Philippi, Khayelitsha, Kukule to Delft, it's deplorable. What are the immediate measures as a department and as a government of the ANC and also the ruling party that you can make to resolve these challenges of the people living in these deplorable socio-economic conditions?
Well, within the context of the January 8th statement that the President will be delivering today here in Cape Town, Khayelitsha Stadium in particular, we have been around this place the better part of the week, interacting with communities, with structures, visiting various human settlements. We have seen for ourselves that places like Guguletu, Khayelitsha, and some parts of Ilanga, services requires serious attention because we were told that there is a place where about 4,000 units constitute a human settlement, and the most depressing condition there is that 30 units share one toilet, and which is a very serious situation because dignity of our communities, dignity of our people remains extremely important. And therefore, because this place here is governed by a different political party, to be specific, and therefore it requires serious cooperative governance because they told us, these communities that have been reporting these matters to the city of Cape Town, they have been reporting these matters to the provincial authorities around here. But from where I'm standing as the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance responsible for matters of municipalities, we are going to be engaging together with the city of Cape Town. We're going to be making sure that we work together with the provincial government here because they do have to work together to make sure that the people around this place do receive their services. But I want to say to them that the ANC remains their political instrument, and at the national level, where we are placed together with our president and the rest of government, we are going to make sure that through the inter-ministerial committee that has been established, comprised of COCTA, of water and sanitation, of transport, of police and other related departments. We're going to be coming back here to make sure that we make necessary follow-ups on those issues relating to basic services. Myself and the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, we were on site together during the course of the week, and we have identified the need for sanitation services. We have identified the need for disaster management intervention because there are areas which requires urgent attention. Equally important, matters of water, matters of safety and security. As I say, through inter-ministerial committee, we're going to be coming back here to work with these communities. So the ANC remains their political instrument in the hope that we're going to be exercising governance, mandate, responsibility, but providing the much needed leadership all over the country. Broadly in the Republic, the state of municipalities, of course, is a mixed bag. You have got municipalities who are doing very well, like here today. Quite understandably, there will be some municipalities which will be receiving awards as indications of centers of excellence, of performance at our level. But equally important, there are those municipalities in the country that require serious attention on matters of leadership, on matters of governance, on matters of service delivery, on matters of administration, but above them all, provision of the much needed political leadership at the level of oversight, at the level of decisions, but to pull forward these systems. So I could say our being here in Cape Town, in the Western Cape province, we have done very well. We have been all over the province. We have seen for ourselves. It is up to us now going back to constitute those related, specific task-related activities at the local government level. Of course, working together with the entirety of government, but through cooperative efforts, working together with the provincial government of the Western Cape. So we've got to make sure that through the government of national unity as an instrument to serve the people of this country, and therefore this province in particular, government of national unity will have to demonstrate its commitment through the city of Cape Town, through ourselves, working together to clean the streets around here. The streets are very dirty in the townships. I was in Philippi the past few days. I was here in Khayelitsha. I was at Nyanga. We were all over the province and some of these human settlements. The conditions are very appalling, and therefore they require an urgent attention. We remain committed to coming and working together with the rest of the people around here to resolve their issues going forward.
But some may say you as the ANC can't judge the Democratic Alliance in the city of Cape Town, because when you look at the reports of the Auditor General, some of the worst run municipalities in this country are ANC-led.
Well, like I've said, I don't deny the fact that we have got municipalities which are not doing well. And I've said you have got a balanced scenarios where there are municipalities that are doing very well. Equally important, you have got those municipalities which are regarded as being dysfunctional and totally in a state of discomfort. That back of municipalities requires our attention. And we do have a local government intervention strategy as a department, as a ministry, to deal with that situation. The point I was making a reference is that from what we have seen ourselves here in Cape Town and these townships in particular, notwithstanding the fact that systems-wise, the province and these municipalities, they are basically recorded to have done very well through Auditor General's assessment of their financials. But equally important, on the ground here in Khayelitsha, where we are today, the better part of the week as we're traveling around here, we have come across a settlement where 4,000 units constitute a human settlement, 30 house units share one mobile toilet. That is a discomfort. The dignity of our people is unfortunately not well respected, because you cannot have 30 house units sharing a single mobile toilet. It's a very serious human rights issue, and therefore that is the reason I'm saying, working together with the provincial government here, together with the city of Cape Town, we must come back and clean these places. Go to Philippi, go to Nyanga, go to Khayelitsha or Guguletu. The streets are very dirty in the human settlements, and that is a municipal function. It's a responsibility of the municipality and the city in particular. And that is why I'm saying cooperatively through the spirit of a government of national unity, because we are together in this system now, and therefore when we pick up issues here and there, they must be attended to as a matter of agency. But above them all, the African National Congress, through this January 8th statement, is going to be giving clear understanding on how going forward we're going to be repositioning ourselves in terms of government systems, but working together within the prism of cooperative governance as part of the instruments that are at our disposal at the moment. But the ANC remains an instrument for future. It remains an instrument to reconnect and basically recapture the lost ground, and that requires a much needed concerted effort by all of us, structures of the ANC, those who are in government. We must provide much needed collective political and administrative instruments to better the conditions of our people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dixon Musamula. That is Dixon Musamula, who is an ANC member, also happens to be the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. But I'm not alone at the stadium. My other colleague, Lulama Mancha, is in the stadium as well. She is covering another aspect. Over to you, Lulama.
Thank you very much, Samkele. I am joined by the Minister of Electricity, Dr. Khayelitsha Ramaphosa. You know what is interesting is that when he came here, ANC supporters came around, they were singing Indele Ndlela Esihambayo, which means it translated, it's a long journey that we have traveled. Some, they call him Minister of Load Shedding, but I guess they mean there's no load shedding anymore. Some are saying he's the best minister. Yes. And what is strange is that some of the supporters that are coming here, they are complaining to us, to the media, about the ANC and stuff, but none of the people that are here and ask him about electricity because the lights are on. Minister, welcome to the SABC.
No, thank you very much, Lulama, and good morning to the viewers of SABC.
One of the major achievements of the ruling party coming to this year's January 8th statement is that Eskom has been able to keep the lights on for almost a year now compared to the last January 8th statement.
Yes, the president has been very consistent. I mean, if you go back to the January 8th statement 2023 and 2024, we identify load shedding as the impediment to economic growth and the life of our people. So it was important that we do everything possible to resolve the load shedding question. Of course, 290 days counting without load shedding. Don't celebrate the fact that we've got consecutive days of no load shedding because it shouldn't be there in the first place. But it's simply an affirmation that the kind of interventions that we've put in place are indeed working. And then the next question we need to respond to is issues of load reduction and the affordability of electricity. I mean, if you can ask even our members here, electricity is exceptionally expensive. And that's why we need to do everything possible to address that situation. In particular, the poor, because it's got a disproportionate impact on the poor. Of course, I accept everyone, industry, middle to high income households, but for low income households, the impacts are devastating. And you'll hear from the statement that the president will deliver. I think will give an indication of some of the interventions that we are making. And before we go to the State of the Nation address, we'll also announce the measures that we are taking to ensure that electricity is available, affordable for everyone. And in fact, we want to put load shedding behind us.
Tell us, how far is the process of NERSA in approving Eskom's request of electricity tariffs?
Well, first is that NERSA is an independent body, arm's length. They'll make their own determination. I've said to the country that Eskom has made a submission for the 6% tariff increase. I can say this without flinching, that will not get those proportions of increases. We think that the kind of interventions that will be introduced will suggest that the increases should not be anything close to that. But let's leave that to NERSA. But we still have an obligation to ensure that Eskom continues to be a going concern. It meets its obligation, reinvest in the fleet so that the load shedding doesn't come back. It's able to build a buffer to allow the South African economy to grow. We'll address that. And then on the other hand, we'll balance it with the need to ensure that to achieve universal access, 94% household connected to the grid, want to get closer to 100%. It must be affordable, available all the time. We must resolve the issues of load reduction where they exist. We need to make investment on the capital investments on those distribution assets, transformers and substations, especially in the rural hinterland. We'll make those interventions working with the municipalities. So we'll balance both the interest of Eskom, the interest of the economy, and the interest of households to ensure that the South African economy grows and we don't disrupt the lives of our people.
The last statistics indicated that about 1.7 million electricity consumers were receiving electricity illegally. Update us on that?
Well, the numbers are big because they're just the 1.7 million households that are connected illegally. Remember, the number was 2.1 million, and then we made those interventions. 400,000 came, registered themselves. 1.7 million are still outside, just on Eskom customers. And then you have municipal customers that are yet to be accounted for. And the number will approximate those of Eskom, if not more. So there's a significant proportion of these households consuming illegally. It does a few things. So first is that is the one that accounts largely on the failure of the distribution infrastructure because municipalities don't know the capacity that needs to be delivered because of illegal The second one, it denies municipality and Eskom much needed revenue, which revenue could be reinvested back in the maintenance of these assets. So we'll work with municipalities to the extent that it has to do with municipalities, ourselves as Eskom, go into communities and ensure that we are able to prevail on these communities. That it's important that you register, ensure that the subsidy for free basic electricity doesn't reach the household via the municipality. It must go direct to the household. So we'll use the latest technology, the smart meters, to ensure that the indigenous household, every month, they get their allocation. One of the things that we think requires attention, it's a conversation we're having in government, is to increase the quantum of free basic electricity. 2001, we said 50 kilowatt an hour. 23 years later, 24 years later, we are still at 50 kilowatt an hour. It doesn't take them very far. So it's important that you consider the increase of that. Financial implications, the fiscal is under strain. But remember, this government, the 7th administration, we said we'll fight, reduce the cost of living and fight poverty. So these proposals are compatible with what we had committed. And when I went through communities, I mean, the residents will tell you, members will tell you, electricity is very, very, very expensive. We give them grants on the one hand, and then we take it through electricity. It doesn't make sense. And that's why we need to make those interventions. And the ANC, as the leading party in the government of national unity, will ensure that we prevail with the partners. And there's a common appreciation. We need to take care of the poor. Life is tough. The majority of the people here, like many others, are unemployed. The majority of the people here, when they live, they don't know, when they live here, they don't know where they are going to get their next meal. That's the reality of the South Africa, and we are not denying that. And you will hear in the January 8 statement, the president makes those observations, but he goes further. What are these interventions will make to fight poverty, reduce the cost of living, and most importantly, put people into jobs. Young people are here, able-bodied, unemployed. Quality jobs beyond the EPWP. It's an intervention, necessary intervention as a transitional measure. People need to get quality jobs. The January 8 statement will say a lot about that.
Thank you very much, Minister. That was the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Dr. Khayelitsha Ramaphosa, talking us about issues of Eskom. And we know that the balance sheet of Eskom is a concern to government as the shareholder, but I guess those issues and others are going to be addressed by the president when he is delivering the January 8th statement. With that, back to you at the studio.